Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyanam Gurnanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Praptasya Kalyanam Gurnanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Gita Vaditra Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanama Niramarjanado Yuktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasadam Satvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasadam Satvana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Kritvaiva Tripte Bhajato Shariva Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Kritvaiva Tripte Bhajato Shariva Vande Gurashi Shiradikama Dabayara Para Madhurya Leela Gunarupanam Nam Shirarikama Pratikshana Sva Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ne kunja yuno ratikeli siddhai jajali vir jokti apekshaniya ne kunja yuno tatrati daksha Ativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Sakchadharitena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastatthava Bhataeva Sadhave Sakchadharitena Kintu Praborja Priya eva tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Dayam Stubam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityana Mine Nama Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunavadi Pachatyade Shatarine Shesha Shanavadi Vatata Shata Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Anya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, ah, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Nama, Krishna Jadavaye Nama, Jadavaye Madhavaye Keshavaye Nama, Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudam, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Jai Shri Thakurari, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhe. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Shri Radhe. Jayo Sita Thakurani, Jayo Sita Thakurani, Jayo Sita Thakurani, Jayo Sita Thakurani. Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Baladeva, Jayo Subhadrama, Jayo Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman. Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Pramanande Haribo. Jaya Vishwapara Paramsa Prabhajakacharya Sutara Shri Shishima. His divine grace of Bhochan Vinda Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. His honor Krishna with Sanskrit measure Vaisnav Surmani Pratika Bhavana Shri Prabhupada ji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Gauri Guru Bhagavati Tudhar ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhakti Raghunath Shri Jai Gopal Bhakti Dasana Satguru Swami Prabhu ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ji ki jai. Anand Guru Vishnu Vrinda ki jai. Prem se kaho se Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Guru Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Param Dayal Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Jai Prabhu Nam Sankirtana ki jai. Prema Purushottam Satchidananda Shri Mangala Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavarana Avatar ki jai. Golokera Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jaga ki jai. Yuga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Priyatmitanga Transcendental Buddhist Christian Seva ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokul Narada Tunsema Giriraj Godhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Maturdham ki jai. Delo Shri Shri Radha Nyamara ki jai. Shri Maya Purnavadip Eka Chakradham ki jai. Paramakaruna Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Purushottama Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smasvatra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman ji ki jai. Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanushingare Bhagavan ki jai. Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Maharani Vrini Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Mati Thakurani Sita Thakurani ki jai. Shri Mati Sita Thakurani Abhirvavati Mahotsava ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vinda ki jai. Nitai Gaurari Pramanande. All glories to somebody bodies. All glories to somebody bodies. All glories to somebody bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाया प्रहलाद लाद दायिने हिरण्याकाशी पुरुषा शिलटङ्कानकालाये ये तो नरसिंहा पर तो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बाहे नरसिंहा हृदय नरसिंहा नरसिंहमुदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव कर कमल वरे नखाम अद्भुत श्रृंगार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगा केशवधीरता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे हिरण्यकशिपु केशवधीरता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 बोल नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद की जय प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय
Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namaha.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Abhilasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Abhilasi.
Je Tumhara Sharana Loy Tara Vancha Purna Ho
Tamara Sharanana Taravamcha Puna.
Kripa Kori Koro Thare Vrindavana Bhasi
Kripa Kori Karatare Vrindavamasi.
Morae Abhilas Dilas Kunje Diyovas Nayane Heri Bosara Jugala Ruparasi Nivedhana Dharo Sakiranu Gatha Koro Seva Adhikara Diye Koro Nijadasi Dina Krishna Dasi Khoi Ijna Mora Ho Shri Radha भासी
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Navasi.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayana Bhasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadai Navasi.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha.
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Hatyari Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranakshanti Pradakshina Pare Pare
Rani Kani Sapapani Brahmarati Kanisa Rani Kani Pranasati
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Hatyari Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranakshanti Pradakshina Pare Pare
Rani Kani Sapapani Brahmarati Kanisa Tani Tani Pranasati Pare Pare.
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Hatyari Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranakshanti Pradikshanam Pare Pare
Rani Kani Sapapani Brahmarati Kanisa Tani Tani Pranasati
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya,
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi
Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Tulsi Maharani.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai
Jai Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devaki Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pari Devi Shrutavadai Namah. Vrindai Mangalayai tulasi devai priyayai kesava satyam Vishnavati pradevi Shatavadaya Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to attend the service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. I will take shelter of his wishes fulfilled. Bestow myself upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me all my servant. Please very full in the lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always sing in love of Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri 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 Kastakam Ki Jai. Jaito Darpanam Vajanam Bhavamada Nivapanam Shri The Sankirtan moon is the prime benediction at large. For it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the light of all things. It is the ocean of transcendent bliss. Enable us to taste the nectar of the for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, O the European friend of all sentient living beings, thus we have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even foreign passages for chanting these names. O my Lord, Do I want any number of followers? I only want your cause of devotional service, birth at the birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I'm your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I'm falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the yellow speech. O my Lord, and will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri 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 Kristakam Ki Jai. There have been offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. One, to blaspheme the bodies, the life, to propagate the holy name of the Lord. Two, to consider names of the demigods, the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Three, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Four, to blaspheme the Vedic Lord, our Lord, to persons version. Five, to consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to imagination. Six, to give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. Seven, to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Eight, consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious activities which often engages exclusive activity, karma kanda. Nine, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in chanting the holy name, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It was so inoffensive. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. Knowledge of our obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas devoted to the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Janma Yasya Yata Nivayat Itaratas Chartesva Vigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyantiya Suraya. Tejo Varimidam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargomasha. Damna Svena Sada Nirastakohakam Satyam Param O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen in water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma Pujita Kaitravota Paramo Nirmatsranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atravastu Shivadam Tapa Trayon Mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapurer Ishwaraha Sadyo Hridi Avarudyate Tra Priti Bihi Sususabhistakshana. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Sukhamukad amrita dravya samhitam Pipata bhagavatam rasam alayam Muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavaka. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired true Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice is already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantak Stohi Padrani Vidunoti Suhit Satam. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. Nasta presu abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye cheta etaranavidam stitvam sattve prasidati. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. Evam prasana manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Vidyate hridaya granthis chidyante sarvasamsaya siyante jasyakarmani justa evatmanishware. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Shishi Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it.
The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water before its fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. chanting your holy name, dancing, singing, playing music, and instruments.
The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya
The
Mahaprabhu.
spirit master always gladdened by the Sankirtan moment of Lord Chaitanya.
Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
Because he's relishing the mellows of pure devotion.
Sometimes his hair stands on end.
Sometimes the hair stands.
He
on
feels
end.
quivering in his
He
body.
feels quivering in his body.
And tears flow from his eyes like waves.
And tears flow from his eyes like.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my humble obeisance unto the Lord of Jesus.
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna.
The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship of Sri Radha.
He also engages his disciples in such worship.
He also engages his disciples.
They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
They visit these in beautiful clothes,
clean their temple,
clean the
and
temple,
perform other similar worship
and
of the
perform
Lord.
other similar
I
worship.
offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the Lord of Jesus. Such a
The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food,
the spirit master always offering Krishna for kind of delicious food.
analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked.
And that is that which is liquid, drunk, and sight.
When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada,
When the spiritual master sees that the body is satisfied by eating Bhagavad
he is
Prasada,
satisfied.
he is satisfied.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the Lord of Jesus. Such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava.
The spiritual master is always very deep.
And their qualities, names, and forms.
And the qualities, names, and forms.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the Lord of Jesus.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who in different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of
I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my most humble obeisance unto the Lord.
The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord.
The spiritual master to be honored as much as Supreme Lord because the most confidential servant of the Lord.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance to the Lord of such a spiritual master who is the bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Without spiritual master, one can never make any.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master.
Therefore, I should always
At least 3 times a day, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master.
at least the time of the day, I should for my humble obeisance to the Lord of my spiritual master.
Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhe Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Chintamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Vriksha.
Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa
Laksha Vritesya Surabhira Vipaliyantam.
Lakshya Swarabhi Rabhipalayantam.
Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam.
Lakshmi Sahasha Satasambhrama Sevyama.
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam.
Venum Kunanta Arvinda Dalayataksham.
Venu Vanantam Aravinda Dalaya.
Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam.
Varavadasam Asitam Buddha Sundaram.
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham.
Kandar Pakoti Kamaniya Vishesha.
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam.
Alola Chandrika Sadvanamalya Vamsi.
Alura Chandaka Sadvana Malyavamsi.
Ratnam Gandam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam.
Shangantam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam.
Shamam Tribangala Litam Niyata Prakasam.
Syamam Tribhangala Litam Yata Prakasam.
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adi Purusham.
Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti.
Angani Yasa Sakalindriya Vitti.
Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti.
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti.
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya.
Ananda Chinmaya Sadukala Vigrahasya.
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adi Purusham.
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim
Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha
Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam
Vedesu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto
Vedeshi Durlabam Adurlabam Atma
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Pantastakoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo
Pantastakuti Satavatsara Sampadam
Vayo Ratapi Manaso Muni Pungamanam
Vayuratapi Manasomani Pungavan
Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tattve
Sapyasya Papantashinya Vichinta
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Ekopya Sora Chayatun Jagadanda Kotim Yat Shakti Rasti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha
Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana
Suktaryam Eva Nigama Pratitastuvanti
Sukteyameva Nigama Prasthite
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibha
Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi
Taviya Eva Nijarupataya Kalabi
Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto
Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kila
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena
Vimanjana Chuhrita Bhakti Virocha
Santak Sadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti
Santasa Deshi
Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam
Shama Sundaram Achinta Sarguna
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatistan Navataram Makarod Nana Avataram Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu
Nana Avatara Makarud Bhuvaneshu
Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo
Krishna Sambhavat
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi
Yasya Prabha Pavato Jagaranda Koti
Yasya Prabhapa Bhavatu Jagarata
Koti Svasesu Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam
Dharmamanis Kalamanantam
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Adi Purusham
Maya Hiyasya Jagaranda Satani Sute
Maya Yasya Chikanisthani Sute
Jaigun Yatad Vishaya Veda Vitayamana
Regunata Vishaya Veda Vitaya
Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam
Sarvavalambi Param Saptam
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi
Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu
Ananda Chinmaya Jagaranta
Ya Praninam Pratifalam Smaratam Upetya
Yaprani Nam
Bhuvanani
Prabhalam
Jaya
Smaratam
Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jayaya Jasram
Nilayatena
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chatasya
Guru Kanami Jadami Tala
Devi Mahesu Haridama Sute Sutesu
Devi
Te
Mahesi
Prabha Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Yena
Iti Prabhava Prasitam
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Shristi Stati Pralaya Sadhana Saktireka
Stiti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka
Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga
Jayeva Yasuvani Bhakti Durga
Ichana Rupam Apiyasya Chachesta Tesa Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga
Kiram Yatara Divikara Vishesha Yoga
Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetoho
Sanjayate Natata Pritak Asti
Yasambutam Apitata Samapaiti Karya
Yasam Bhuttam Apita
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Deepacha Eva Hitasanta Ramabhyupetya
Yipachi Eva Iti Santa Mamamupi
Deepayate Vivitahetu Samanu Dharma
Yipayate Vivita Iti Samana
Yastadrik Eva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati
Yastadrik Eva Isha Vishnu Taya
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Yakarna Narna Vajale Vajatisma Yoga
Yakarna Nanna Jale Vajati
Nidramananta Jagananda Saroma Kupaha
Nidram Ananta Jagananta Saruma
Adhara Shaktim Avalambya Paramsvamurtim
Adhar Sakti Paramanda
Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Yasyaik Anisvasita Kalamatavalamya
Yeshe Kanivasita Kala Atavala
Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanataha
Divanti Loma Vilajagadana
Vishnu Mahansa Yasha Kalavishesho
Vishnu Mahansa Yesha Kala Vishesh
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Adi Purusham
Basman Yatasma Sakalesa Nijesu Tejaha Swiyam Kiyat Prakadiyat Apitad Vadatra Ramaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Mahari
Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha
Yapal
Dvande Pranama Samaye Ganadi Rajaha
Dvande Parama Samaye Sagana
Vignan Vihanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamamu Marudisascha Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani
Kala Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani
Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha
Yasma Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishani
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamam
Yakshakshuresa Savita Sakalagrahanam Rajasamasta Suramurti Rasesa Tejaha
Raja Samasa Suramurti Vashishate
Yasya Gyaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro
Yashe Gaya Brahmadi Sambrita Kala
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamam
Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Sutayastapamsi
Dharma Tapapa Nichaya Sutayasta
Brahma Dikita Patagava Deyasta Jivaha
Brahmani Kita Padaka Vadayasta
Yadata Matra Vipava Prakata Prabhava
Yadata
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma
Yasmin Tuvendra Atavendra Ahusakarma
Bandhan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti
Mandan Rupam Falabhajana Atan
Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chabakti Bhajan
Karmani Dhat
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadibiti
Yam Kruda Kama Sahaja Pranam
Vatsalya Moha Guru Gora Vasevya Bhavai
Vasaya Maha
Sanchintya Tasya Sadrisim Tanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govinda Mahadi
Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumish Chintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Apivamsi Priyasaki
Kadaganam Natyam Karanam Api Vamsi
Chidantam Ruti Param Apitad Aswadyam Apicha
Chiranantam Jyoti Paramam Tatar Avaswadam
Sayatra Shiradi Bihi Shravati Surabhyabhyascha Sumahan
Sayakirabi Sudi Surabi Vidyascha Suma
Nime Sardakyu Vavrajati Nahiyatra Pisamaya
Nime Sadakyo Bhavaji Nahi Yatra Pitam
Vajay Sveta Dvipam Tamaham Iha Kolakam Itiyam
Vajesus Pita Dupam Yakulpam
Vedantaste Santakshiti Viralachara Katipaye Shri Shopanashadi Ki Jai Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate
Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udeshyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Iva Vasishyate
Ishavaishamidam Sarvam Jat Kinja Jagatyam Jagat Tinataktina Bunjitaha Magritaha Kisasviddanam
Ishavasamidam Sarvamna Kinchi Jagatyam Jagat Tina Chiktina Gunjitana Griya Kasasvidanam
Kurvan Evaha Karmani Jajivachek Chatam Samaha Evam Tvayi Nanyatetus Tina Karma Lipite Nare
Purvam Eva Karmani Jivichakshata Samaha Evam Trayi Nanyati Tusti Nakarma Lipyata
Asurya Namate Loka Andena Tamasavritaha Tamste Pratya Vigachanti Yeke Chatma Hano Janaha
Asurya Namati Loke Andena Tamsvrta Tamste Pratyabhika Janti Eke Chatmana Hanujanaha
Anajadika Manasu Javyo Nena Devam Apravam Pravam Asat Tadavato Nyani Teti Tistat Tasminapo Mataviswadadati
Anajakirika Manasur Jiviyo Nainam Deva Punam Apurvam Arsta Tad Vavatuniam Atiyatirista Tasmin Apu Natishva
Tadejati Tan tad tad ejati tad naijati tad dure tad vantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya bhayataha ejati tad ejati
Dure tat alantike tarantarasya sabasya taru sarvasya
yastu sarvani bhutani atmani eva nupasyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tatuna vijagupsate
yastu sarvani bhutani almani evan upapsate sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato
yasmin sarvani bhutani atmeva budvijanataha tatrako maha kahasoka ekatvam anupasyataha. Saprayagach chukamakayam avrinam asnavidam sudam apapavidam kavir manisi paribu swambu yatata yaturutan vyadadas jasvadipyaha samabhyaha.
sabyaga chachukam akam avranam asnanam shudam apavidam kabir manisi pribhu swayambhu yatanta chatu triyat vachadat shabastibhya
Andham tamaha pravisanti ye vidyam upasyate tato bhuya vite tamo yayu vidyayam rataha.
andam tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuya ivati tamo ya uvidyayam rataha
Anyadevahur vidyaya anyadahura vidyaya iti susrumadiranam yenastad vichachaksire.
anyari vayu vidyaya anyarahur avidyaya iti shushrumandiranam yenastat vishakshasire
Vidyam cha yasyastad vedubhayam saha avidyaya miritam tirtva vidyayam ritam asnute.
vidyam cha yas tad edo vayam saha aryantam rityum chutva vidyat mrita asmite
Andam tamaha pravisanti ye sambhutim upasyate tato bhuya vite tamo yayu sambhutam rataha.
andam tasmat pravashanti te sambutamim upapsate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya usambutyam rataha
Anyadevahur sambhavat anyadahur sambhavat iti susrumadiranam yenastad vichachaksire.
anyar ivavu sambhavat anyar avu asambhavat iti shushrumanti dhiranam yenastat vishakshire
Sambhutim javinasam cha yastad vedabhayam saha avinasena militum tirtva sambhutam ritamasnute.
Sambhutam cha vinasanam cha yadirvido bhayam saha vinasena mrityum chitva sambhucham ritam asmite
Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pitam mukam tatvam pusam apavrinu satyadharmaya dristaye.
iranmayena patrena satyaya pitam mukham tatvam pasamam apavino satyadamasadvistaye
Pusane kaseyama surya prajapata yuharasmin samahatejo yatre rupam kalyanatamam tate pasyami yo sabasu purushaha sohamasmi.
Pusane kachiyama surya prajapatya yam asmin samvatejo yate rupam kalyatatamam tatte spashami yosam aso purusha soham
Vayuranilam amritam atedam basmantam sariram om kratusmara kritam smara kratusmara kritam smara.
Vayuranilam amritam atedam basmatam shriram om kratushmara kritasmara kratushmara kritam smara
Om Agnenaya Supatara Yasman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yodajmas Juhurana Mino Bhuyastam Tenama Utim Vidama Om Tatsat.
Oganamannaya supataraye asman Devadeva vayone vidam Yurodyam asmaje yuranam eno Pushishtam te nama uktim videma
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 13, Text number 13. Chapter 7, Text number 13. Shirodadav Amaradanava Yatapanam Yatapanam
Yirotavats asmaradhavanayatapanam
Anmatanatam Amrita Labdaye Adideva
Anmanatam amritam labdva adideva
Pristena Kachapa Papur Vidadara Gotram
Pristena kachava vayu vidadara gotram
Nidrakshanodri Parivartaka Sanakandu
Idrakyanodri pavrita kachana
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place or pivot for the Mandara mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain in order to extract nectar. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Although it is not in our experience, there is a milk ocean within this universe. Even the modern scientist accepts that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of planets hovering over our heads, and each of them has different kinds of climatic conditions. Srimad Bhagavatam gives much information which may not tally with our present experience, but as far as Indian sages are concerned, knowledge is received from the Vedic literatures, and the authorities accept without any hesitation that we should look through the pages of authentic books of knowledge, Shastra Chakshurvat. So we cannot deny the existence of the ocean of milk, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, unless and until we have experimentally seen all the planets hovering in space. Since such an experience is not possible, naturally, we have to accept the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, because it is so accepted by spiritual leaders like Sridhara Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and others. The Vedic process is to follow in the footsteps of great authorities, and that is the only process for knowing that which is beyond our imagination. The primeval Lord, being all-powerful, can do whatever he likes, and therefore his assuming the incarnation of a tortoise or a fish for serving a particular purpose is not at all astonishing. Therefore, we should not have any hesitation whatsoever in accepting the statements of the authentic scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. The gigantic work of churning the milk ocean by the combined effort of the demigods and the demons required a gigantic resting ground or pivot for the gigantic Mandara hill, thus to help the attempt of the demigods. The primeval Lord assumed the incarnation of a gigantic tortoise swimming in the ocean of milk. At the same time, the mountain scratched his backbone as he was partially sleeping and thus relieved his itching sensation. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The primeval Lord then assumed the tortoise incarnation in order to serve as a resting place or pivot for the Mandara mountain, which was acting as a churning rod. The demigods and demons were churning the ocean of milk with the Mandara mountain in order to extract nectar. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, 7th chapter, one second. Yeah, so this whole pastime of the tortoise is given. And it begins by saying, Sukadeva Goswami said, O best of the Kurus, Maharaj Parikshit, the demigods and the demons summoned Vasuki, king of the serpents, requesting him to come and promising to give him a share of the nectar. They coiled Vasuki around Mandara mountain as a churning rope, and with great pleasure they endeavored to produce nectar by churning the ocean of milk. The personality of Godhead, Ajita, grasped the front portion of the snake, and then the demigods followed. The leaders of the demons thought it unwise to hold the tail, the inauspicious portion of the snake. Instead, they wanted to hold the front, which had been taken by the personality of Godhead and the demigods, because that portion was auspicious and glorious. Thus, the demons, on the plea that they were all highly advanced students of Vedic knowledge and were all famous for their birth and activities, protested that they wanted to hold the front of the snake. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The demons thought that the front of the snake was auspicious and that catching hold of that portion would be more chivalrous. Moreover, Daityas must always do the opposite of the demigods. In other words, the demons have to always do the opposite of the demigods. That is their nature. We have actually seen this in relation to our Krishna consciousness movement. We are advocating cow protection and encouraging people to drink more milk and eat palatable preparations made of milk. But the demons, just to protest such proposals, are claiming that they are advanced in scientific knowledge, as described here by the words Swadhyaya Shruta Sampanaha. They say that according to their scientific way, they have discovered that milk is dangerous and that beef obtained by killing cows is very nutritious. This difference of opinion will always continue. Indeed, it has existed since days of yore. Millions of years ago, there was the same competition. The demons, as a result of their so-called Vedic study, preferred to hold the side of the snake near the mouth. The Supreme Personality of Godhead thought it wise to catch hold of the dangerous part of the snake and allow the demons to hold the tail, which was not dangerous, but because of a competitive desire, the demons thought it was wise to hold the snake near the mouth. If the demons were going to drink poison, if the demigods were going to drink poison, the demons would resolve, why should we not share the poison and die gloriously by drinking it? In regard to the words, Swadhyaya Shruta Sampana Pakyata Janma Karmabhihi, another question may be raised. If one is actually educated in Vedic knowledge, is famous for performing prescribed activities, and has been born in a great aristocratic family, why should he be called a demon? The answer is that one may be highly educated and may have been born in an aristocratic family, but if he is godless, if he does not listen to the instructions of God, then he is a demon. There are many examples in history of men like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and Kamsa, who were well educated, who were born in aristocratic families, and who were very powerful and chivalrous in fighting, but who, because of deriding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were called Rakshasas or demons. One may be very well educated, but if he has no sense of Krishna consciousness, no obedience to the Supreme Lord, he is a demon. That is described by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:15, Namam Duskritina Mudha Prapadyante Naradama Maya Pratagyana Asram Bhavam Asritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Asram Bhavan refers to not accepting the existence of God or the transcendental instructions of the personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita clearly consists of transcendental instructions imparted directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Asuras, instead of accepting these instructions directly, make commentaries according to their own whimsical ways and mislead everyone without profit, even for themselves. One should therefore be very careful of demoniac, godless persons. According to the words of Lord Krishna, even if a godless demon is very well educated, he must be considered a mudha, naradama, or maya pratagyana. Well, here we see some very interesting points made by Prabhupada. First, he is comparing people who, he says, we, meaning our Krishna consciousness movement, we are advocating cow protection and encouraging people to drink more milk and eat palatable preparations made of milk. But the demons, just to protest such proposals are claiming that they are advanced in scientific knowledge, as described here by the words Swadhyaya Shrutak Sampana. They say that according to their scientific way, they have discovered that milk is dangerous. That milk is dangerous and that beef obtained by killing cows is very nutritious. So here we see the problem with the demons. They always have a different point of view or an opposite point of view of the devotees. Now what's surprising is the fact that the demons have come up with this theory of veganism. And there are devotees that follow it also. Of course, they try and make a noble plea for it. They say, well, modern cows, due to industrial dairy, are being abused. Therefore, we should not drink milk. And also but they don't object, at least many of them. Some of them do, but many of them don't object to cows being slaughtered in the slaughterhouse and eating meat. So on the one hand, they say don't drink milk. On the other hand, they say you can eat meat, or it's okay for cows to be slaughtered in the slaughterhouses. Now there are some vegans who are vegetarian completely. That's a fact, and are opposed to any violence against cows. Now, Srila Prabhupada himself did not stop drinking milk, but he did instruct the devotees to have our own farms and our own cow cow protection, and stop mistreatment of the cows. The cows should be protected, and never should cows be killed under any circumstances. So when we approach vegans and say, well, look, we have a dairy and we're not killing the cows and we're treating them like our own children or our own family members, why don't you take some milk that's ahimsa milk? Still they won't accept it. A very few will, but many of them won't accept it. That just shows how adamantly they are against drinking milk. And there are devotees that I know of that do the same thing. So here there's an indictment of that by Srila Prabhupada in his purport to the 8th Canto, 7th chapter, verse number 3. And then secondly, Prabhupada makes the point that if one is actually educated in Vedic knowledge, is famous for performing prescribed activities, and has been born in a great aristocratic family, why should he be called a demon? The answer is that one may be highly educated and may have been born in an aristocratic family, but if he is godless, if he does not listen to the instructions of God, then he is a demon. There are many examples in history of men like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and Kamsa who were well educated, who were born in aristocratic families, and who were very powerful and chivalrous in fighting, but who, because of deriding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were called Rakshasas, or demons. One may be very well educated, but if he has no sense of Krishna consciousness, no obedience to the Supreme Lord, he is a demon. That is described by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. And so Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 15th verse, which explains the 4 kinds of people that never surrender to Krishna. Namam duskritina mudha nara prapadyante naradama maya pratagyana asram bhavam asrita. So number 1 is the muda. Muda is the ass-like person whose only concern is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They're not interested in anything religious. And there are millions and millions of people like that today. And more and more every day, due to modern education and schools. So they're churning out atheistic kids, and they begin it right in kindergarten, and it goes right through till you get a PhD. So that's the first class of people that don't surrender to Krishna. They're only interested in the animalistic activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Then there is the Naradama. Naradama are highly educated people, but they have no interest in God. And they waste their great qualities on simply engaging in all kinds of sense gratification. So they buy the best cars, they buy the best beds, they buy the best foods, such as organic meat and other things like that, and caviar and champagne, and all these things that are considered high class, and the best wines. Nowadays, you go into any of the supermarkets, and there's a gigantic collection of wines and beer and things like that. And then you go to the liquor stores, there's a huge collection of liquors. And you go into the coffee shop, there's a huge collection of different types of coffees grown at different altitudes in different countries, blah, blah, blah. And the Naradamas are experts in all these things. They'll go in and order, I want the coffee grown at 6,000 feet of altitude and in the mountainous areas of Colombia, and this thing, and they give a description, a very detailed description of all the criterion of a certain type of coffee that they want. Right? So this is all nonsense, and they're just showing off their so-called knowledge and erudition, and basically they're demons. They have no interest in God. They believe that God is a fairy tale, and that real knowledge is science and logic and reason. Just like one man, he was reasoning in India. Yamaraj is a Paka Brahmana, and Paka Brahmanas never touch stool. So he thought he could escape death by smearing his own stool on his body. He used his reason and logic, right? And he used Vedic knowledge to justify it by saying Yamaraj is a Paka Brahmana, and Paka Brahmanas never touch stool. So if I smear stool on my body, then Yamaraj won't touch me and I won't die. And this is nonsense, of course, but the scientists, the philosophers or philosophers, and so-called academics, they use the same type of false logic and reasoning to reject the existence of God. Their point is, if we can't see him, then we can't accept that he exists. Well, wait a minute. There are a lot of things you don't see that you accept that exist. Like an atom, for example. They believe that atoms exist. They've never seen one. They use inductive reasoning and phony type of experimentation to say that there is such a thing as an atom, and it has such a structure and has such dimension and blah, blah, blah. So, and then electromagnetic waves. They claim that there are electromagnetic waves, although they've never seen one, but they see the effects of one. Well, no one's ever seen God, but we see the effects of God all over the place in the form of nature. Nature is acting in an organized way. Where did that organization come from? The movement of the planets are organized and synchronized perfectly. The changing of the seasons are synchronized perfectly. The spring itself has millions of functions, and they're all synchronized. How did all that organization happen? The human body itself, is a miraculous functioning machine. And where did all that organization take place? How is a baby formed in the womb of a mother? It's unbelievable of all the steps that are required and all the information that has to be contained in a sperm, which is microscopic, in order to form the body of the baby. The mother only supplies nutrients. It doesn't supply the intellectual property. See, the sperm is providing that intellectual property. Where's all that knowledge coming from? And all that organization, how is it happening? See, these are miraculous things we're seeing with our eyes, and we take it for granted. We think, oh, it all happened by accident. Yes, it all happened by accident. Did microscope happen by accident? Did Amazon happen by accident? No. They say, no, that's happened by men and science. But all these other things that are much more miraculous, much more complicated than Microsoft and Amazon, they claim happened by accident. It's irrational. It's nonsense. But yet, kids are taught to accept such nonsense, because if they don't, they are ridiculed. See? So that type of bullying, modern education today is bullying kids to accept things that are not true. And because of that, eventually they give into it, and they become atheists also. So that's a second point that Prabhupada is making here, that even the most educated people can still be demons, just like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana. Ravana was the son of a Brahmana, and he was trained by his father, but yet he's considered a demon because he does not have any obedience to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In fact, he was trying to kill, or at least ruin the life of Lord Ramachandra by kidnapping his wife. So we see that education, being born in an aristocratic family, and having a lot of academic qualifications and so forth is not necessarily a sign of a high-class person. And the proof is many of these so-called high-class persons, politicians, philosophers, scientists, they get caught engaging in illicit sex, they get caught cheating, they get caught lying, and it just goes to prove that although they have all these so-called degrees, they're really low-class scumbags. And they're bullies. They bully people. If someone talks about God, they bully them, and they deride them, they make fun of them. They say these people are less intelligent, and so forth. And the third point he makes here is that he says that those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among men, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Asurambhavam refers to not accepting the existence of God. So these are the worst demons. These are the atheistic demons who purposely preach against the existence of God. They write books, they give lectures, they travel all over the world, they have organization, and they are all over the internet, and they are asuras, ferociously, or very, let's say, very focused, trying to destroy any thought or belief in God. So they are the worst of the worst. Okay, so then we continue. Thus the demons remained silent, opposing the desire of the demigods. Seeing the demons and understanding their motive, the personality of God had smiled. Without discussion, he immediately accepted their proposal by grasping the tail of the snake, and the demigods followed him. After thus adjusting how the snake was to be held, the sons of Kashyapa, both demigods and demons, began their activities, desiring to get nectar by churning the ocean of milk. So Kashyapa Muni and had two wives, Diti and Aditi. And the sons of, one of the mothers was the mother of the demigods, and the other mother was the mother of the demons. Huh? Yeah, Diti and Aditi. Yeah. So, in this way, they're all related. It's just like the Jews and the Arabs. They both say they have the same father, right? Abraham, but different mothers. So they're actually brothers, right? They're actually related, but they hate each other. So this says all these things that you see in the Bible, they're actually taken from the Vedic history, but they're adjusted to, let's say, that particular part of the world. But the same type of, let's say, model is there, and therefore they're just imitating or borrowing from the Vedic tradition and, in a sense, bastardizing it or denuding it of its original meaning and adjusting it to their own history. So now, in order to churn the ocean of milk, they get the help of this Mandara mountain and Vasuki, this celestial snake they're using as a rope. Okay, but when they start churning, the mountain is so heavy, they're not able to hold it on the surface of the water, and it falls to the bottom of the ocean. So now they all became very, very discouraged. Now Krishna's seeing this. Krishna is present, right? He's helping the demigods. When he sees the mountains sink, he assumes the form of a gigantic tortoise that's 800,000 miles in length. You can imagine such a thing. And he goes under the water and lifts the mountain on his back. The tortoise has this very strong back, and it's a shell. But he also has an itch. And so by churning the mountain, the Mandara mountain, on the back of the tortoise incarnation of the Lord, it satisfies his itching. It relieves his itching. Now, when you hear this story, most atheists will say, this is impossible, we can't believe this. This is just a bunch of mythology and written by less intelligent people. Oh, yes? Mythology written by less intelligent people? No, the mythology is the scientists and the philosophers and the so-called atheists. They can't believe such a thing because they can't do it themselves. Therefore, they reject it. Now, just like a blind man walking with a friend of his who has eyes on a sunny day, and his friend says, the sun is very beautiful today. And the blind man says, I don't believe it. And he said, why? He said, because I can't see it, that's why. So just because you can't see something doesn't mean it has no existence. There are many things that exist that we don't see. In fact, the human body has a very limited range of seeing and hearing. Many animals have a better range of hearing than human beings. Many animals have better eyes. They can see much farther away and much more acutely than human beings. So the first thing we have to accept is, as a human being in a human body, we have serious limitations. We're limited in our seeing, our hearing, our tasting, our smelling, and our touching. There are many things that we're not perceiving with our body. Therefore, we need televisions and radios and cell phones, and we need so many other, glasses and hearing aids and so many other things because of the limitations of our body. So therefore, it's very possible there are many things that we don't see that actually exist, like electromagnetic waves. They're going through this room right now. We don't see them, but if you have a cell phone or you have a television, you'll be able to see them. So that just proves that our senses are very limited, and also that we make mistakes, and also we have a cheating propensity, and also that we're easily illusioned because of these 4 defects. So therefore, to reject the existence of God simply on the basis of we can't see him, we can't measure him, therefore we don't accept that he exists, that is nonsense. So now, again, it says here, seeing the situation had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara hill. And Prabhupada writes, here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are 2 classes of men, the demons and the demigods, but neither of them are supremely powerful. Everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but devotees accept them to be acts of the supreme ruler. When faced with hindrances, therefore, devotees pray to the Lord, Tate nukampam susamik samano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances, accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by his will that there were hindrances, and by his will those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Shitir ihava vipulatare tavatistati priste. The Lord held the great mountain on his back. Keshavadrita kurma sarira. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by him. This is known to devotees, but demons cannot understand it. So this pastime of Kurma Avatar is so important. We're going to go over it tomorrow and the next day also, because there are a lot of lessons to be learned from this pastime. So are there any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribol. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Chanara Prasade Bai E Bhavaturiya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Gurumukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriyakya Arana Koriya Maneyasa Arana Koriya Maneyasa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Ye prasade pure sarvasa Ye prasade pure sarvasa Chakshudana dilaje janmi janmi Prabhu se Divya Gyani de Prokasito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hote Avidya Vinasa Jate Vedega Janara Charito Vedega Janara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokenath Lokera Jivana Lokenath Lokera Jivana Prabhu Pura Doya Deha Mori Padachaya Prabhu Pura Doya Deha Mori Padachaya Ebe Aska Sakti Bhuvana Ebe Aska Sakti Bhuvana Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokenath Lokera Jivana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Vaskatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Premanande Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajiga Jasta Tarasatarashi Shishimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Pramashaka Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanand. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Satarni. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your famous spread throughout all the street. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavan, Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya.